You are absolutely certain your brain works the same way it did 10 years ago. Same memory, same focus, same ability to sit with a thought until it becomes something real. That certainty is the first sign something has already changed. In 2019, a researcher named Gloria Mark at the University of California, Irvine published findings that stopped neuroscientists cold. In 2004, the average person could focus on a single task for 2.5 minutes before their attention broke. By 2012, that number had dropped to 75 seconds. By 2019, it had collapsed to 47 seconds. Not because people became lazier, not because the world got harder, because a system was built to make sustained attention neurologically expensive and distraction neurologically rewarding. Here is what your brain looked like before the smartphone era. Your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, reasoning, and holding a thought long enough to do something with it, operated with a relatively stable reward cycle. You completed a task. You felt satisfaction. That satisfaction came slowly, earned through effort and time. Your dopamine system was calibrated to delay. Waiting built tolerance. Tolerance built focus. Focus built the capacity to think in long, unbroken chains. Then the feed arrived. Every scroll produces a micro-reward. Not a large one, a small, unpredictable one. And that unpredictability is the mechanism. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz spent decades mapping how dopamine neurons respond to reward. What he discovered is that the brain does not release dopamine when it gets a reward. It releases dopamine in anticipation of a possible reward. The uncertainty is the drug. Slot machines work on the same architecture. So does every feed ever built. Your brain adapted. It had no choice. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire its own circuitry based on repeated behavior, is not a feature reserved for children. Your adult brain reshapes itself around whatever you do most. And what you have done most every single day for the last decade is interrupt yourself. A study published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior found that the mere presence of a smartphone on a desk, face down, silent, not being touched, reduced available cognitive capacity. The brain was partially occupied with the act of not checking it. You were not focused. You were resisting. And resistance consumes the same mental resources as thinking. Here is what changed structurally. Research from University College London found that people who reported heavy digital media use showed measurable differences in gray matter density in the anterior cingulate cortex, the region that regulates impulse control and emotional processing. This is not metaphor. This is tissue. The architecture of sustained thought was being quietly traded for the architecture of rapid switching. But here is where it gets more complicated than the standard screen time panic. Your brain did not just lose something. It optimized for the new environment. It became faster at surface scanning, better at parallel processing of low-depth information, more sensitive to novelty signals. These are not useless skills. In a high-noise information environment, they are survival tools. The problem is that the same optimization makes deep reading harder, long-form reasoning slower, and emotional regulation more effortful. You traded depth for speed without being asked. Adam Alter, a psychologist at New York University and author of Irresistible, studied what he called behavioral addiction architecture, the specific design features that make digital products compulsive without technically qualifying as addictive substances. Variable reward schedules, infinite scroll with no stopping cue, social validation metrics visible in real time, progress indicators that never complete. Every feature was tested, iterated, and deployed against a brain that evolved for a world where none of it existed. You did not fail to resist. You were out-engineered. The recovery data is more hopeful than the damage data suggests. Studies on digital detox periods, ranging from 3 days to 3 weeks, show measurable restoration of sustained attention capacity. The anterior cingulate cortex shows functional recovery relatively quickly. The brain's plasticity that made it vulnerable to the feed is the same plasticity that allows it to rebuild. The circuitry is not deleted, it is suppressed. And suppressed circuits can be reactivated. What it requires is not willpower. Willpower operates from the prefrontal cortex, the same region already under strain. What it requires is environmental redesign. Remove the variable reward source from your immediate environment. Your brain cannot resist what it cannot stop anticipating. Gloria Mark's own recommendations were not motivational. They were structural. Change the proximity. Change the notification architecture. Change the switching cost. Make distraction require effort rather than focus. You woke up this morning certain your brain was functioning normally, and in the environment it now lives in, it is. That is exactly the problem. Your brain adapted so completely to a system designed to fragment it that fragmentation became the baseline. The brain you had before the feed is not gone. It is waiting at a depth your current attention span can almost no longer reach. Almost.